The book of Revelation, without doubt, is one of the most difficult books to understand, to read. Just now you heard the reading of Revelation chapter 13. A lot of things doesn't really make any sense to anyone in the 21st century. One of the main reasons behind is it is to do with how the book was written, how the message was given to the author. And if you look at chapter 1, this is what is said. There is a vision come to the servant John. Most people will believe this is one of Jesus' disciples. So what he has done is the angel of the Lord show a vision to John, the author, and then he wrote down what he saw in the imagery and in the vision. And the reason behind is the time is near. So that means the end of the world is near. So that was the context of the book of Revelation, and that's why it was written. Now, John was a first century Christian. He was in prison, and at that time the Christian world was in turmoil. It was chaos. There was persecution. There was a lot of things against Christianity at that time. So someone said, well, for every single day you live, you're one day closer to your death. Now, for John, the author, it's actually not far from his reality. He is in prison, and who knows whether he will be able to get out of there. And that is the context how the book was written. And when he saw the vision, the imagery, they are quite surreal. So if you look at the book of Revelation, chapter 13, the book we just read, the first image, one of the images that he saw was this one. So there is a leopard, bear, lion mix in front of him with 7 heads, 10 horns, and with big feet as well. So you wonder, what is he actually seeing there? And of course, John, being a Jew, a first century Christian, he is looking at the image in the context of a Middle East culture. And then he writes it down in Greek, which is more or less his second language. And then he didn't actually write it down immediately because they don't have pencil and paper in hand or a phone or anything to type notes. So they write it down after they saw the image. Now, for us, if you want to understand, you have to be as close to the first century Christian and Middle East culture as possible in order to fully understand what he is talking about. If you can do it, you would have been at least 2,000 years old by now if you are close to that culture. Now, in regards to that, I send a lot of people in our modern world, we want to find out what the image actually looked like. So some people, they reconstruct the image. Hopefully, by looking at the image, they can get something out of it. And this is what people come up with. So something like this. Now, it doesn't look like anything. So what I have done is I sent the picture to one of the rivo youths. I asked her to tell me what did she actually see. This is what she came back. A 7-headed cheetah or leopard on a beach with 10 sharp horns on its head, rather large mouth, large and heavy claws. Now, immediately you see this youth most likely born in Australia because the creature was on the beach. And then she might be very well educated in some way, at least in high school. She can tell, well, looking at this animal, looking at the dots, the pattern, it can be a cheetah. It doesn't have to be a leopard. And of course, she picked up it's unusual animal, has got 4 legs but with 7 heads. And she might be guessing, well, most of the head will have a pair of horns. That's why she counted the horns is actually 10. So she has done really, really well looking at the picture just over her phone with such a small picture. Now, what you can see is the way our culture does influence how we read the picture, how we see things differently. And she didn't actually see the crown. Because if you look at this particular picture, it is actually very small. It looks like a ring on a horn more than a crown. Because if that is a crown, you expect at least meeting the size of your circumference, the head circumference. So obviously, she didn't pick it up. But what she has done really well is when John said it's the feet, a bare feet, she picked up is the claw. So that's the difference. You can see people at different cultures, they will interpret the picture, the vision in a very different way. But what you can conclude is unusual things will catch your attention easily. So what you can see is John must have seen something extraordinary, something very unusual. Even in the eyes of the Middle East person, it is something really, really weird, something you would have never seen on a day-to-day basis. And you can tell from the description of John, what he has written down will be close enough to what he actually saw in the vision. But the actual minute details, the perfect accuracy probably doesn't really happen because there will be some discrepancy with what he actually see by the time he wrote it down, but it will be close enough for us to get the big picture. That's why when you look at the book of Revelation, it's extremely important to understand the symbolic meaning of the picture. It's not about what the creature is, how the creature physically look like, but it's more important to understand what is the symbolic representation of this beast, why it is shaped like this and things. And this is where we need to look at this morning. Now, the question I have this morning is, why, where did John see this vision? And why God showed him this vision in time of his suffering, when the time is near for him? And what is it to do with us in the modern world as 21st century Christian? What is it to do with us after Jesus has died 2,000 years ago? What does Revelation, how is it related to us in the 21st century? So, the book was written by John, and this is how it opened, where he saw the vision. So he didn't actually see the vision in his prison cell. So if you look at Revelation chapter 4, God actually escorted him to the heaven to look at this vision, to look at the world that he is living in. He was standing at the door and God asked him, "Come out here. I will show you what must soon take place after all this." So God has taken John up to the heaven to actually look down on the earth, look at the chaos, see through what is happening in front of him, to show him what is actually happening around the scene. Now that's interesting. You know, when you stand up higher on the ground, above the ground, you see things a lot clearer. If you want to have a better view of the city, where will you go? You go to King's Park, will you? So when you're on stage, you actually see the congregation a lot clearer. I can actually tell you who is on their phone, who is falling asleep, and who is paying attention. Now, that's the interesting bit. In the midst of chaos, God raised John up into the sky. Look at the sky, look at the world from above. So God is trying to tell John, if you want to make sense of the chaos of the world that you're living in, you need to look at the world from the heavenly perspective. You need to look at the world from above. You cannot see the world under the sun because you're looking horizontally. You can't see the picture clearly. So God raised John all the way to the heaven to show him what is actually happening. Now, you know, 2024 will be another year of chaos. You don't need any prophecy to that. You already know. So to live through that chaos, that chaotic world, that messiness, you need to learn what John has done. God will ask you to look at the world in 2024, to look at your life from the heavenly perspective. Look from above, and things will be a bit more clearer. Why things happen and how things happen. Who is behind the scene in control? Who is the salvation behind all the chaos? Now, let's have a look what are the beasts John has seen. Now, we have to step back to chapter 12. There is a red dragon, 10 horns, 7 crowns on his head, and his tail swept up 1/3 of the stars out of the sky and flung them to the earth. Now, remember I said you need to know the symbolic meaning of things. So red dragon is a symbolic representation of Satan, the ultimate evil one on the earth. And now there is a lot of resemblance with the beast, isn't it? Now the beast also have the 7 heads, the 10 horns and things. So what the Bible is trying to tell us is this is a like father, like son relationship. So the beast is actually very close to the red dragon. So in other words, things happen in John's world, the chaos, the persecution, anything against the Christians. At that time, it was actually the mastermind is the Satan. And the beast that we just saw in the picture is a symbolic representation of the Roman emperor. So you've got the evil one, and then you've got the Roman emperor. So in other words, the nation leaders is actually the beast in John's world. And what God is telling John is all this suffering coming from Satan. Because what he did was he used his tail to flung every stars to the earth. That is an indication of disaster, wars, genocide, homicide, anything that you can see in the news at the moment over the last 2 weeks to 4 weeks. That's exactly what happened you're seeing. Everything coming bad in our life comes from the evil. That's what the book of Revelation is trying to tell us. And the message becomes very clear to our modern world as well. You know, our world has never been so unsettled, isn't it? Well, perhaps it has never been settled since the fall of Adam and Eve. Our world has never been settled. When you look at the book of Revelation, it becomes quite clear a lot of chaos in our life, a lot of turmoil in the world that we are living in come from Satan and human sins. This is how the book of Revelation, chapter 13, starts. The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns, 7 heads, and keep going on. Now, the ocean, the sea, in the ancient time means dangers, chaos. It's fearful. The main reasons behind is they don't have any sophisticated navigation system. They don't have EPIRBs and things. So the ocean is actually a very dangerous place to be in. So when you look at Revelation, you will see it said, well, in the heaven and earth there will be no sea or ocean. It doesn't mean there's no ocean. So if you like surfer, you may not like to go to the heaven because you think there's no ocean. That's not what it means. It means in the heaven there's no chaos. Now, looking at this, the dragon stood by the side of the chaos. There is a beast coming out of the chaos. Now, after COVID year 2020, you wonder, what other chaos we need in our life? And all of a sudden, there's a nation wage war against their neighborhood. And after that, there's another nation wage war against another nation. And then after that, there's another nation wage war against nation. This part of the Bible resembles our world so much at present. It is telling us out of the chaos, there will be another person leading us to another chaos. It's crazy. Now, at the moment, every dominant nation in the world, they are giving up their defense because they think there will be another giant nation coming to be a threat to them. It resembles so much in our world. There are chaos after chaos. Now, beside the wars, we see the Satan, he brings stars. The Satan ruled, tried to conquer the world through warfare and tyranny. Now, on the other hand, beside the wars, there are other things happening in our world. Now, if you think about our church, our Rivo team, they have gone to Mozambique for a mission trip. Now, that is a place where famine, food shortages are part of the reality in their life. It impacts vast majority of the people living there. So on one corner of the world, there are people, they don't have enough food to eat or cook. On the other hand of the world, on the other corner of the world, our kids or ourselves, we could have been watching MasterChef. Now that's interesting. On one corner, there's not enough food to cook. In the other corner of the world, we might be thinking how to cook the food. The world is so imbalanced. The world is so absurd. It's the next level of absurdity here, the world that we are living in. The book of Revelation is telling us all this kind of chaos, all this kind of absurdity we live in the world, they come from a mastermind, Satan. And human beings our sins contribute to the disaster, to the imbalance of the resources sharing in the world. We can't deny that. And then what this beast does, well, this beast make people worship the dragon, blasphemies, speak things against God, against Christianity. Isn't it what the world we are living in at the moment? You will never run out of things against Christians. You will never run out of bad news and things happening in our life. Everything is about oppression, social injustice, and everything. People are suppressing and downplaying Christian faith. At school, you can't teach Christianity anymore. You can't teach the Christian ethic standards anymore because they don't like it. People want to push against it. And then this is what happened. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, and people will be in captivity. People will die. Now, and out of that, God asked John, be patient, endure what you are seeing at the moment. Be faithful on the part of God's people. In the midst of John's suffering, God asked him, tell him things will happen. Whatever you saw, people will be killed. People will be captured. There will be things against God. There will be things that you don't like. But be patient. Endure it. And be faithful. Stick to God. That's what God is telling John. How he might be able to live with the end in his mind when he's going through suffering. God wants him to see the world from the heavenly perspective. Now, probably a month, if not 6 weeks ago, I was talking to a counselor, and she was telling me, well, she's trying to stay away from watching the news. One of the main reasons behind is news are really bad, are very sad, are very graphic at the moment. And she says she doesn't know how to feel anymore. You know, the more sad news, the more bad news you watch, you start to get desensitized. You start to lose the ability to feel and develop empathy and things. And as a counselor, that's exactly what she needs. She needs to have the capacity to develop empathy and sympathy. And if she got too desensitized, she won't be able to do a counseling session as simple as that. So her solution is we'll try to avoid that so she won't get desensitized. Now that's the world we are living in. The news that you're seeing at the moment is very bad. It's chaos. Now here comes the interesting thing. Out of the chaos, while John was suffering, God asked him, look at the beast. Look at the chaos. Don't stop looking, but look at it at the right perspective. So the counselor was trying to say, well, she doesn't want to be too carried away from what is happening around her, so she can focus on the people that she is serving. Now God is asking, John, if you look at what is happening on the earth from the heavenly perspective, you won't be too carried away. You will see the world better. Now, if you know when you're struggling, when you're in the midst of suffering, when you're at the lowest point of your life, you expect your friends, maybe your family, maybe take you out to a movie theater to watch a movie that is a bit more relaxing, maybe comedy that will give you a few laughs, some joy, maybe take you to a holiday trip to get recharged and relaxed. But God took John to the heaven to look at this thing, to look at the beast, to watch a thriller. Well, that's crazy. Now you wonder why God takes John up to the heaven to look at something so unsettling. I think the whole idea of revelation almost has nothing to do, in this chapter, has nothing to do with calming your mood, but calming your mind. To help people to look at the world, to read the world from the right perspective. And then your mind can have the peace you need to live through the messiness, the chaos of the world that he is living in. And I think that's very substantial for us to understand that. Is to look at the world, keep our eyes upon the Savior, Jesus Christ. But luckily, when you look at Revelation, a lot of things are symbolic. But here, the reasons for looking at the beast, God has given us the main reason. These calls for patient endurance and faithfulness. The reasons why God wants to reveal us, with reasons why we need to begin with the end in our mind, is to call for patient endurance, faithfulness, see the world from a heavenly angle, adjust the viewing angle so you can see behind the scenes is what Satan. And what you need to know is when you look at the book of Revelation, the beast exercise the power of Satan, inflict sufferings to oppress people. He conquers by tyranny and warfare. This is exactly what we are seeing at the moment in our world. Now, but Jesus Christ, our Savior, He conquered the world by self-sacrifice. He redeemed the world through going on the cross to die for us. And He exercised the power of God. He exercised the power of God to induce suffering so we can be redeemed. And that's the reasons why originally we are all not related to one another. But because of the work of Jesus Christ, we are related together because of the work of Him. Because for the work He has done on the cross, we are related. We can be together in one family. This is all because of what Jesus has done on the cross to save us so we can be together. We are a redeemed community, and He conquered by self-sacrifice. You know, the book of Revelation is about God showing John Jesus is the ultimate authority. He has the ultimate control of the world. And eventually, the peace will come, and He will kick out all the chaos in our world. And then you see the second beast coming out of the earth. Now, Satan stood by the chaos. The first beast, which is the one in charge of the nation, come out of the chaos. Second beast come out of the earth. It's our own people. So what it means is the second beast is the officials, the priests from the Roman Empire. They implement the evil plan from the king. They implement the evil plan from Satan. In other words, what they are doing is they are the executor. That's the second beast. You can see it has lesser horns. What does it mean is this official, these people who execute the plan has got lesser power. That's all it said, nothing more. And looking at the environment, it calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast and the number of a man, and the number is 666. Now, you don't need too much explanation of this because when you Google it, information is plentiful. But one thing you need to know, number 7 or number 10 is a number of perfection and completion in the Bible. And what it means is God created heaven and earth, and He rests on the 7th day, and it is good. So what the Bible here is telling us, one of the interpretations is 666 means 4 very short of completion and perfection. So whatever these two beasts are doing, whatever Satan is doing, wherever they are, is still 4 short of perfection. Is still under God's control. That's what the Bible is telling us. And that's where our hope is coming from. Now, living in a world full of chaos, you wonder, who is actually in control? Where is certainty? We learned it already through a painful lesson. After COVID, we know there's no certainty. The only thing you can be certain is there's no certainty. As simple as that. Now, looking at what we are experiencing in the world, the only way to go through the chaos is to begin with the end in our mind, knowing where we are going. Don't be too carried away by the chaos, because they are all short of completion and perfection. And the story of God will never end until Jesus returns. So whatever you see, well, you might have a few more years to live, if not some decades to live. It doesn't matter what we are experiencing. As long as you know your source of reassurance, where is the source of your hope coming from? You can always go day by day with a lot of hope. And by looking at the world that we are living in, by seeing the world through the lens of the heaven, that's how you can live day by day and how you can go through the chaotic 2024.